everybody, Crafting Journey here, that journey chick on Instagram. Don't forget to follow me over on Instagram. If you're watching today for the first time, try subscribing. You'll enjoy the content, I promise you. And don't forget to hit the like button on your way in or out. Today he's shoveling snow. Yeah, no, not really. We're only getting an inch of snow today, but I think this is the last snow event of the season. Yay! So I'm going to drive to work and enjoy it because it's only an inch of snow. How bad can the roads be? Anyhow, look, I finished the poncho. Yes, I do finish projects, and it's so comfy and warm. Yesterday, it was 3 degrees here, minus 17 wind chill. They said this was the coldest place on the planet yesterday. I think the coldest place on the planet yesterday was this craft room. So I did not do a show yesterday. I apologize. This is a converted garage. I have a little heater here. It does have a vent, but it got really cold in this room. The day before, I sat in here and worked, because I work from home on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I sat in here and worked the day before until I just had this chill in my bone, and I had to go get in bed and just warm up. Oh my God, don't you love the colors? Rhubarb. Let me stand up. Hold on. Yes, rhubarb. I think it's pretty cool. It turned out pretty cool. Yeah. Anyway, now my sister's like, can you make me one? Yes, I can. But my next crochet project is the crochet along with Bag-O-Day crochet, Bag-O-Day crochet. If I remember, I will put a link down in the description to her crochet along, and it is the Sesame Street characters. We're going to put it into, and we're going to make it into a baby blanket. I'm so excited, and they're super cute. There's 9 little characters, and so that's my next crochet project. Diamond painting project, yes, still Notre Dame Nights. You see what I have left, which is, it seems like a lot, but it's not, considering this canvas was 98 centimeters by 70 centimeters. So that converts to, I don't know, like 100 feet, something like that. This is not making sense. That's, 38 inches by 27 inches. 38 inches by 27 inches. So I want, my sister's doing the one the exact same size. She's doing the Mount Castle of Germany. Is it Germany? Yeah, I think it's Germany. And it's beautiful. So I want to put them on the magnetic bars. Instead of framing them, I'm going to put magnetic bars on them. So I'm going to have to order the correct size. So that sizing is important. That's what she said. Sizing is important. Yeah, okay, never mind. Let's get on with the show, shall we? Oh my goodness. So today we got our planner out. It is still February. I also did not do Craft With Me Wednesday last night, which was supposed to be over on the Crafty Heifers channel, our cross stitch along. So she and I agreed, because I really was not, between you and me, just between you and me, mentally up to par yesterday. I needed a mental health day, and that's the honest to God's truth. And I'm not going to apologize for it anymore because it happens. We know it does, and it's just, it is what it is. So I'm over it. Yes, that's the good news. I'm over it. And where was I going with that? Oh, so we postponed it a week. Next week, we will be on the Crafty Heifer channel, and we will be talking about our temperature cross stitch along. So join us for that. Okay. In what national day is? It is National Toast Day. Toast Day. I don't know where the heck that originated from. Okay. And in this day in history, we are going to talk about a lawsuit brought by Jerry Falwell that went all the way to the Supreme Court. So Jerry, I don't know if you guys remember Jerry Falwell, religious public figure. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. So stay tuned to the end of the show. You never want to miss the end of the show because you get this day in history. Yep. All right. That's it. Nothing else going on this week. The last snow of the season. Next week, it's supposed to be like in the 70s all week long. And I'm not going to swear by that because you never know. There could be more snow. Who knows? I'm not a weatherman. And even the weathermen don't really know now, do they? Let's talk about National Toast Day. I could get some drills out here. Yes, these are diamonds. We also call them drills that we put down on the canvas. Sometimes one by one, sometimes multi-placing them. But it takes a long time to get all the diamonds down. Yes, it does. Anyway, I'm going to turn on my light pad. For any of you that would like to know this, I'm using an A2 light pad. So this light pad actually is about half the size of the painting. So you can get an A1, it would be super large, but yeah, you don't want that. A2 is really sufficient for most of the larger canvases that are out nowadays. So I got this bendy tip from Everlasting Tip, so I'm trying it out. I don't know if you can see that. The tip at the end of the tip is curved, and they have a patent on that. Even though there's some out there that, you know, that there are copies out there, but Everlasting Tip has the patent. Anyway, so let's talk about National Toast Day. How do you like your toast? My favorite is, I have two favorites, butter and peanut butter, depending on the kind of toast. And then my other favorite is just butter and jelly. Yes, peanut butter and jelly. Strawberry jelly or raspberry. I'm not particular about the kind of jelly, you know, whatever. But I actually like a preserve, like a sugar-free preserve. Yeah. And, oh my gosh, just as a treat every now and then, cinnamon and sugar. Butter with cinnamon and sugar on toast. Oh my God, heavenly. Yes. And that used to be my favorite breakfast, but you know, I'm trying to get off the bread. I'm doing pretty good. Although we had rice last night. So far I've given up bread and potatoes. I'm still doing the rice, but it was yellow rice. Now, I don't know if that makes a difference. But I'm eating better. I'm taking B12. My B12 was really, really low. So I'm finding that I have a little bit more energy, and there's another effect that it has that we're not going to talk about. Yeah, but apparently B12 has something to do with your energy levels and your metabolism. So the fact that it was low explains a lot. So I am taking supplements to avoid getting a B12 shot. I bought some B complex, so we'll see if that works. So tell me in the comments, what is your favorite toast topping? Because I would love to know. Is it avocado? Is it yeah, what do you like on your toast? Let's share. Maybe we'll see something different that we hadn't thought of, and we'll want to try it. Yes. So let's talk about crafting and crime daily. Yes. Oh my gosh, so much stuff going on, guys. So much stuff going on. So first, I need to talk to you about Robert Hayes' case. Robert Hayes was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder of 3 prostitutes out of Daytona Beach. So that was out to the jury for a verdict yesterday. Day before yesterday. Yesterday I didn't do a show. So day before yesterday, the jury deliberated for 9 hours, 9+ hours. I mean, no one thought that they would be out this long with so much evidence, especially DNA that directly linked this guy to these murders. And the fact that he owned the same caliber weapon that killed these women, and that he lived in the area. I mean, there was a lot of evidence against him. So after 8 hours, 9 hours, they came back. This was late in the evening, 6:30-ish. And I'm sorry I didn't bring it to you live. Guilty on all 3 counts. Yeah. now they it will go into the penalty phase. So they will have to decide. There's a lot of stuff that has to happen because this is Florida, and in order to put somebody to death, you have to make sure that there's no brain issues, there's no mental health issues. So there's a lot of work that has to be done behind the scenes. So they're ordering him brain scans to make sure there was nothing wrong with him mentally. They'll order all kinds of evaluations, and then they'll come back. The judge will hear all of that evidence. The judge and the jury will hear all of that evidence, and then they'll decide whether he gets the death penalty or not. Actually, I forgot the part first. First, the jury has to decide, does he get life or the death penalty? If they decide he gets the death penalty, then they have to do all that stuff. So I will update you on that. Then in the Ahmaud Arbery case, which was a federal case, so I didn't really cover that one. I covered it when they were in civil court, when all three men were found guilty of murdering Ahmaud Arbery. Yesterday was Ahmaud Arbery Day. It's been declared Ahmaud Arbery Day by the law firm that represents everybody in the country that's black. I forget the name of the law firm. Very prestigious law firm. But between them and the family, they decided, okay, we're going to call this National Ahmaud Arbery Day. So they were found guilty of violating his civil rights. And that can carry up to 15 years in a federal prison. Yeah, man. Those three guys had no idea when they set out that day chasing that man down the trouble they were going to be in. No clue. That's the part that bothers me. No clue that what they did was wrong. No remorse. No clue. They just didn't think it was wrong. Oh, my God. And it was wrong on so many levels. Anyway, then we have the movie theater popcorn case. Yes, it is not over. This defense lawyer is putting on so many witnesses. I have never seen this many witnesses in a defense case. It is ridiculous. I mean, honestly, it's ridiculous. But the judge is allowing it. I mean, the prosecution keeps objecting and saying it's cumulative. It's irrelevant. What's the matter? Hi, buddy. What's going on? Come here. Come here. You want to sit with Mommy? Stitch loves anything crocheted. Come here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Okay. Oh, I got to pick you up. Here, you want to lay on my lap? Nope, he does not. He doesn't want to be on camera. Okay. Movie theater popcorn case. So prosecution is rest, defense has put on their case. They have called a couple of police officers. They're one of their points that they have made over and over again is that it's sloppy police work, to the point where the prosecution has already said, listen, we admit it. It wasn't the best investigation in the world. Okay, we admit it. Mercy. So then they've put on witnesses, witness after witness after witness that, says what they saw. And basically, they're all saying the same thing. Nobody saw really what really happened. Nobody saw the victim act in any threatening manner. I don't know how this even helps the defense, except that what he's trying to make with that is that after the event, they all went out to this lobby area and they were all conversing with each other, and that contaminated all these witnesses. They were all contaminated because they all had a chance to compare their stories, and there's theories that when you compare stories with other people, you adopt part of that story as your own, and then you really believe it. And yeah. So yesterday, the defense put on an interventional radiologist. That's a radiologist that does procedures like you know, he can do biopsies under, you know, it's all under fluoroscopy stuff that, you know, different things, procedures. So he does that. So Dr. Michael Foley, which I know him from Florida, very famous expert. So he was saying that he reviewed the spinal x-rays of the defendant, Curtis Reeves, and that he has degenerative changes in his cervical spine. Well, guess what? At 71, or I don't know at what point in time this film was taken, between the ages of 71 and 79, yes, you're going to have degenerative changes. I have degenerative changes. We all have degenerative changes because we're aging. No, duh. Yeah. Did I just say that? Oh my gosh. We all have degenerative changes. What does this mean? I don't even know what to make of this testimony. And it was very quick. That's all he wanted to testify. Yes, he's got degenerative changes. Now, he did say, I don't know how this affects the defendant. It affects everybody in different ways. Everybody has different pain levels, you know. Okay. The next one was a crime scene reconstruction expert, a mechanical engineer, former police officer, whose job it is to reconstruct crime scenes. And honest to God, I was listening, but I have no idea what he was talking about. I really don't. Like, they tried to reconstruct the crime scene, and they tried to put a camera at the eye level of Curtis Reeves at the same lighting level, and it was only admitted for the limited purpose of the jury seeing what the lighting was like. Okay, at the time. And this expert also talked about witness contamination. Then we put on a law enforcement trainer who has a master's degree in education and is an expert in defensive tactics. And one of his things that he testified to was that darkness affects one's ability to assess a threat. Really? So here's my theory on this. I think the jury is, like me and like many people in the Long Crime Chat, we are over it. We're over it. Like, we get it. You know, that Curtis Reeves shot the victim. We get it. We get that it was dark. We get that, you know, maybe the witnesses talked to each other afterwards, but none of them have said that the victim did anything threatening that deserved him being shot. You know, you took out a weapon in a movie theater and shot somebody because of a phone and popcorn. But this is not about popcorn. And to say that you were aging and you're vulnerable and it was dark and you weren't properly assessing the threat is not a defense. You can't take a gun and kill somebody because you don't like the fact that they're texting in a movie theater. The movie hadn't even started yet. It was the previews. Now we know that the previews are important. You know, this was a RoboCop preview. So anyway, I digress. So I don't know if this is going to continue today. You know, they finished at 5:30 last night. I don't know if this is that was the last witness. You know, I don't know if he's going to come up. They have this police officer, defendant, former police officer, has spent so much money on this defense. This has cost him thousands of dollars, thousands for all these different experts to come, thousands. These guys charge $200, $300, $500 an hour, point to point. Like when you're, you know, from the minute you leave your house till the minute you get back, you come and you testify and you get back to your house, no matter where you're at. You know, if you're, this is a Pasco County case, which is on the west side of Florida. If you're Michael Foley lives in South Florida. He's got travel all the way over there, 4 or 5 hours to get to Pasco County, or he took a flight. Either way, that's several hours. All the time he's waiting to testify, the time that he's testifying, you know, we're talking about thousands of dollars, plus all the investigations that they've done, all the records they've reviewed, all the conversations they've had with the attorney, all the times that they went to the theater to personally see the location, to assess the lighting. This has cost thousands of dollars. And my sister mentioned, you know, I wonder if this is being paid by like the Fraternal Order of Police. Like if he's still paying his dues, did they throw in some money for his defense? I would be curious to find that out. Because I know he is spending a lot of money. But the jury has got to be, I'm actually angry at this defense attorney because I just don't think all this is necessary. You're just dragging this out for the theater of it, I think, you know, because we know you're a good attorney. We get it. We know you're getting away with asking leading questions because you put, do you agree or disagree? And then he'll ask a leading question. And because he puts, do you agree or disagree in front of it, he gets to ask a leading question, which seems so unfair. It's just not the way this whole case has just been, like, nobody can believe how it's going. No one can believe it, including the prosecution. They're all just stumped that this judge is letting this defense attorney get away with this nonsense. So anyway, that will continue today. I mean, we're into 2 weeks for this, what seems like a very simple open and shut case. But anyway, so we now have the new case has started, 2 new cases. So the first new case is the case of Kentucky versus Brett Hankinson. Brett Hankinson is a police officer. He on March 13th, 2020, they had a no-knock warrant, which, unbeknownst to all of these guys that went to execute this no-knock warrant, had been changed to a knock first. I don't think they knew this. Anyway, no-knock warrant. So they had battering rams, guns, to go into this house where they thought this drug dealer was. Brett Hankinson fired shots into, this is an apartment building where all the apartments are very close together. He shot bullets that went through apartment 4 into apartment 3. The bullets went past apartment 4 into apartment 3, killing Breonna Taylor. So I have not finished watching the opening statements, but this is going to be very, very interesting. I tried to watch, and it was after work, and it was late, and I was trying to watch them, and I was very confused by the prosecutor, what she was trying to convey. She was trying to describe what happened, and it just, I need to watch it with a clearer head because it wasn't sinking in for me. So we will watch that again. Then we have the case. This one is just, this is my case. I mean, I could defend this case all day long. I really could. And as a former hospital risk manager, I can tell you this case is a nightmare. This is the case of Dr. William Husel, who is charged with 14 counts of murder for administering excessive doses of fentanyl to elderly patients, causing their deaths. Now, he's only charged with 14. Initially, he had been charged with 25, and they lowered it to 14. So this investigation started out very, very large, and there were way more patients involved than what he's charged with. So William Husel, and I do want to say, you know, it appears he's out on bail because he just walked in on his own, put his stuff down, you know, so he didn't come in handcuffs and what you usually see when somebody's in custody. So he's out on bail. He comes into the courtroom, takes his mask off, and that whole thing. Then before the proceedings start, they put on the record that there had been plea negotiations. The prosecutor said, we started plea negotiations. We offered him that he could plea to 10 counts of reckless homicide. Now, if he pled guilty to 10 counts of reckless homicide, which is a lesser included offense of what he's being charged with. He's charged with murder of 14 people. So they were offering him 10 counts of reckless homicide, which if he took that, then he would have to go in front of the judge. And this would expose him to up to 3 years in prison per person. So 30 years in prison. So Jose Baez, who is defending Dr. Husel, and Jose Baez is the famous defensive attorney who got Casey Anthony off. Jose Baez stood up and actually said that he felt this was a very reasonable offer, and because he felt it was so reasonable, he met with his client. He for quite a bit of time. He said he went over the offer, and his client says, "No, I am innocent. I want to go to trial." Okay, so the trial commenced. So they started the trial. The prosecution got up, and she explained that this took place between 2014 and 2018 at a small hospital called Mount Carmel West. And this is in Mount Carmel, Grove City, Ohio, which is this little suburb outside of Cleveland, Ohio. The population in this town is 40,000 people. Compared to Wichita, where I live, the population is 400,000. So this is a small town. It's just a little suburb outside of Cleveland. So this hospital, it has a very similar story to the hospital that I work in. It's been there for many, many years. It was founded by a group of nuns who, it started out as a very religious hospital. It continues to be a very religious hospital, Catholic hospital. Then they started a school of nursing there. It became the Mount Carmel School of Nursing. Today, this hospital is known as Mount Carmel Grove City, in the city where it resides. And it is now owned by Trinity Health Systems, which has 4 of these Mount Carmel hospitals. So just like my hospital, it started by nuns. It starts by nuns and it's ended up as a corporation. Probably not for profit. My hospital is not for profit. I would imagine that this is not a for-profit hospital as well. So it's now known as Mount Carmel Grove City. There's 4 hospitals within this system. They employ 9,000 employees and 2,000 doctors. So these events occurred between 2014 and 2018 and didn't come to light until the pharmacy started looking into this and saying, hey, they went to administration, probably the risk manager, and they knocked on the risk manager's door. This is where the risk manager's nightmare comes in. Hey, I got something to talk to you about. We're having some concerns about excessive doses of fentanyl that are being administered and ordered by Dr. Husel. Do you think you could look into this and see if there's anything askew? My jaw would drop if the pharmacist told me that. I'm like, okay. So this all occurred in the ICU at night. Dr. Husel is an anesthesiologist / critical care doctor. A lot of anesthesiologists also have boards in critical care. So the prosecution said he was prescribing in massive doses, this fentanyl, in massive doses in combination with other drugs to patients who were on ventilators. So here's what was going on. The doctor and the nurses would talk to these patients' families about end of life. Is this how you want your loved one to you know, they're not going to come off the ventilator. You know, you have to have these conversations with the family. If they do come off the ventilator, how, you know, what's their quality of life going to be? You have to make a decision. Basically, are you going to pull the plug? And they would have these conversations with the families, and the family would say, okay, take them off the ventilator. So when you take someone off the ventilator, you need to make them comfortable as they come off the ventilator. So there's doses that generally are given. Usually it's 5 to 10 milligrams of morphine as they come off these ventilators, just to make them comfortable with a little of Versed. So instead of giving 5 to 10 milligrams of morphine, this doctor was ordering and having administered 10 to 20 times that dose of fentanyl. Now, if you convert morphine to fentanyl, it's 10 to 1. So instead of 5 to 10 milligrams of morphine, the appropriate dose would have been 50 to 100 micrograms of fentanyl. Instead, he was giving 600 to 2,000 micrograms of fentanyl to these patients when they would come off the ventilators. Now, the prosecution argued that these patients were at risk for severe respiratory depression, and they passed away very quickly. So they described this as, you know, he was very callous, and he was just administering this and calling it a day. Yeah, instead of, because generally when you give the 5 to 10 milligrams, you have to stay at the bedside to make sure that they're going to be okay. So they made it sound like he couldn't be bothered. So he would administer these huge doses, and then they would die, and he'd get to go on to the next patient. I don't know. So then we need to talk about the Pyxis. The prosecution talked about this Pyxis machine. And this is one reason why the pharmacy may not have been alerted as quickly as they should have been about these excessive doses of fentanyl. A Pyxis machine is where you go to get your drugs out. You have to put in your code, and if you want to, there's certain limits of what you can take out, dosage limits. Like if they put in fentanyl, there's certain amounts of fentanyl that you can take out unless you override the machine. And there's ways to override the machine. This was another nightmare I had as a risk manager, setting up these Pyxis overrides. So the only reason, and most of the time overrides are only done in the emergency room, because you can only do it if it's an emergency. You override the system, and there's going to be a doctor at the bedside while this is being administered. So the nurses would go in and they would override the system to get these excessive doses of fentanyl. So instead of the usual way, usually a doctor places an order. He'll say, I want to give, 2,000 micrograms of fentanyl. You send that order to the pharmacy. You enter it into the computer. It goes to the pharmacy. Pharmacy comes up with your dose. Now that takes a little longer. And apparently he did not want to wait, and the nurses didn't want to wait. So they would override this system and take these massive doses of drugs and administer them to the patients. They did not question this doctor's order because he was a very prestigious doctor. He had won Doctor of the Year twice during this period of time. He was very revered. They weren't going to question him. Many, as a result of this investigation, many pharmacy staff and many nurses were fired. So there are going to be a lot of witnesses in this case. So the defense gets up. Jose Baez, like I said, famous defense attorney, he gets up. He's like, Judge, can I have 5 minutes to set up? And I'm like, oh no, here comes the dog and pony show. Yes, dog and pony show. I'm telling you, he had this wall of charts. He had photos of all the employees. He had photos of all the deceased. He had a PowerPoint presentation, and he had a whiteboard that he could write on. I'm like, oh my God. And a paralegal sitting there working the PowerPoint presentation where he put up these emails and he'd have them blown out where you could see portions of the email. I mean, it was pretty impressive. Now, I've had to do these dog and pony shows, and you have to be really, really careful not to overdo it with the jury because they're thinking in their mind, oh, this guy's spending a lot of money on his defense, and he is. I'm sure Jose Baez does not come cheap, and he put a lot of hours into this opening statement, and it was really, really good. So he started off by saying, you know, this is just a case about comfort care at the end of these people's lives. Now, I didn't like this next thing that he said. He said this was either a conspiracy, and then he shows all of the employees. This was either a conspiracy between everybody that knew that he was giving these high doses, or these were the dumbest people on the planet. Yeah. I don't know how well that's going to go over with people in Ohio that are sitting on this jury. He said there's no such thing as medical murder, and that there's no evidence that there was a criminal act. Now, and he was very careful to explain that this is not fentanyl like you see out in the streets where it's laced with other stuff and people are dying and you have to administer Versed. This is not that. He wasn't going from room to room with a little syringe in his pocket administering this. Everything he did was out in the open. It was all supported by the medical records. Everything he ordered is in the medical records. It was administered. It's recorded in the medical records. He wasn't trying to hide anything that he was doing. He pointed out that he has 17 years of higher education, that he was Doctor of the Year twice during this 4-year period of time. Then he talked about Project Lighthouse. I thought this was fascinating. The company, Trinity Health, actually put together a media playbook about how they would address the media. And one of the things that they put in the playbook was, who are we going to make the villain in this case? Are we going to make it the nurses? Are we going to make it the pharmacists? Are we going to make it the culture? Are we going to go after are we going to say this is the doctor? What? So basically, he's trying to make a case that this was sort of a witch hunt. They needed someone to blame for this system failure. Failure at many, many levels. Failure on the part of the nurses, failures on part of the pharmacist. To notify anybody that this doctor was administering heavy doses, and failure for anybody to question it. And he could have at the time just justified it, but nobody ever questioned him about these doses. He was questioned twice in 4 years by a pharmacist, and only because there was a fentanyl shortage. So the pharmacist came to him and said, are you sure you want to give this large amount because we're having a fentanyl shortage? You want to cut it in half and then see if you need more? You know, they weren't questioning it because it was too much, just that they didn't have enough. So this is going to be a really, really interesting case going forward. So I did not get to watch any of the witnesses that were put on yesterday. Time crunch, and I was working from home. But I am following this very carefully because I'm very interested in what the outcome of this is going to be. Because if this doctor's convicted, this is going to make history. It really is. I expect that the defense is going to have experts that come on and say, this was not an excessive dose, and the prosecution will have their experts come on and say, yes, it was an excessive dose. We'll see. So, anyhow, that is Crafting and Crime. What happened this day in history? So, Jerry Falwell, he is a very famous conservative, religious, public figure. And back in 1983, Hustler magazine did a parody of him having his first sexual encounter in an outhouse with his mother. And it was clearly in very, very poor taste. So Falwell was just appalled. He sued for libel. He sued Hustler magazine for libel and won $200,000. So Hustler magazine took it all the way to the Supreme Court and won. The Supreme Court said this guy is a public figure. This comes in under the First Amendment, you know, freedom of speech. This guy's a public figure. It was poor taste, but it wasn't wrong. So he didn't get his $200,000, and that day in court didn't end the way he thought it would. So guys, that's the show for today. I missed you guys yesterday. So sorry. No. Today is Thursday. I'm going to drive in an inch of snow to go to work. Gotta go to work in my poncho. Poncho. Tomorrow's Friday. We get to dance and celebrate payday. I will see you then. Have a great Thursday. I love you all. Bye.